Mr. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Bryan,
Here.
Polk, Blackwell, Blunt, Kaufman, DeBar, Doty, Fillingane, Frazier, Harkins, Hobson, Horn, Jackson, Johnson, McMahon, Parker, Parks, Wiggins, Witherspoon.
There are three matters that I wanted to make members of the committee aware of. In addition to that, I've decided to take my mask off while I talk because nobody can hear what I'm saying. And so just stay out of the line of fire. And they say it's not good to talk loud, that tends to, spread whatever you may have. So don't anybody get me upset, get me where I'm talking loud. It's not healthy. First of all, one out of three, there is on the calendar a bill from the House on the concurrence calendar. The House amended a bill, and the House amendment effectively resurrects a bill that was killed in Judiciary B. And I have made it clear to Senator Wiggins that if anybody runs over him, it's going to be his fellow senators and not a bunch of people from the House. So I do not intend to call that bill up, and I intend to let that die on the concurrence calendar.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for both the warning and for your actions. Thank you.
So if Senator Wiggins tells me differently, I'm subject to being persuaded, but only by Senator Wiggins. I guess I could tell my Ellis Beaudron story. Senator Guerrieri from DeSoto County once decided to poll a bill out of committee to get himself a new assistant DA. And when he polled the bill out of committee, he failed to then move to go into committee of the whole to take up the bill. So Lieutenant Governor Dye immediately referred the bill to finance. The chair of Judiciary who was killing the bill was Martin Smith, and Senator Beaudron referred the bill to a subcommittee of the Finance Committee, which was chaired by Martin Smith. You have a list of nominees. There are two nominations which were made by Governor Bryant, who is an outgoing governor. I do not tend to call those nominations up. When we adjourn and go home, Governor Reeves may well nominate the same two people, but I don't intend to take those up for that reason. I plan to have Bob Anderson come talk to us. He's the new Human Services Executive Director, and I intend for him to appear before the committee so we can talk about his confirmation. But as regards the other names on this list, the peer committee, except for major appointments, checks public records, checks to see if people meet the statutory requirements, and brings us a copy of the application, as it were, the form that the nominee filled out. Those forms will be in the committee office very soon. They're not there now, but when we get them from the peer committee, they will be in the office. So if members of the committee have any questions about any of the other people on this list, or if members of the committee wish to look at the information from the peer committee, stop by and tell the committee assistant that you've got a concern about somebody, or that you want to look at a peer committee report or whatever. But my intention is that we would meet and take all of those matters up without having individuals appear before us. It just seems to me the most prudent way to deal with the situation we're in. And finally, I wanted to make the committee aware of what's going on with the $900 million of what we're referring to as COVID money. it's my understanding that I've been asked to prepare general legislation to deal with this money. So what the general legislation does is it sets up in the State Department of Health a series of programs to deal with this money. And there is, for example, a program for hospitals, and a program for physicians, and a program for dentists, and on and on and on. Generally speaking, the bill defines as eligible payments things which can be reimbursed under the federal law. That's generally what the definition does. And then the bill puts a cap on payments to individuals, so that if you're a physician or a dentist or whatever, you could be reimbursed up to X $1,000 or get a grant from the state, however you want to look at it, for up to X $1,000 if you have expenditures which are subject to be reimbursed under the Act. It's my thought that there are a number of technical matters which the Department of Health would deal with just like any administrative agency deals with what some court once referred to as interstitial gaps in the law, which I always thought had a really nice ring to it, although it sounds a lot like interstellar, and it's not the same. So I have, just so that members can be aware of what my current thinking is, and we'll ask it to be distributed before we leave, a current, very, very rough draft of this bill. But I wanted members of the committee to be able to look at it. I think it's likely we'll be voting on it probably sometime tomorrow, if I had to guess. But at any rate, when we leave, I'm going to ask that the bill be distributed. The good news is that the last half of the bill is nothing but a section to make sure that these expenditures are exempt from the bid laws, which would be impractical. And so about half of this is just bringing forward that code section. It's in rough form, but I'm asking the committee to look at it and talk to me and let me know what you think. I do not know how much money we have to spend. I assume that there will be an appropriation bill and all those matters will be dealt with when somebody makes final decisions about this. And I'm also led to believe it is at least possible that the House may have a different perspective on this than the Senate. And I've researched this carefully, and in order for a bill to pass, it must pass both chambers. So I appreciate your coming. I just want the committee to know what's going on. What I've told you is my current intention, and obviously I'm telling you for the purpose, so if you have other ideas or suggestions, you let me know. Any questions? Anything else? If not, is there a motion to rise and report? All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. And I'll ask Janet to distribute copies, or y'all can pick up copies of this very rough draft on your way out. And feel free to share copies of the very rough draft with whoever you'd like to share them with. But it's a rough draft.
Are we done?